In today's video, we are going to look at and compare the difference between a cheap £1,000 Range Rover versus a £30,000 one. Is this car really worth 30 times more? Well, in today's video, we are going to find out. We are going to do a back-to-back comparison of these SUVs, from the exterior to the interior, comparing the technology and the main differences between the models. As well as this, we will compare the overall practicality and quality of these Range Rovers. And at the end of the video, we will do a head-to-head drive to see which is the ultimate value for money Range Rover you can buy. So let's start with the exterior of the car. It's a newer car, we've got newer things. You can see LED technology. The grille as well, I don't know if I'm a fan of compared to the older one, but you'd expect to see that in a newer car. But oddly, I've got a bit of problem with my badging going on it. You can see it's started to go a bit black, which I'm a bit disappointed about for a 19 plate car, but not a big thing if I need to get that fixed. So we come down the side. One of the things which I do like about this car are the 21-inch rims. So you can get bigger ones, 22s, which probably look a little bit better, but ride comfort, which is what I'm about, these are good because they still look good, but you're not losing the ride comfort. I've got Pirelli Scorpions on this as well, which is the best tyre to be having for this car. It's what you get from factory, and in the snow, it is something else, these tyres. So if you haven't got them, definitely get these tyres. But having a look down the side of the car, you can see it does look pretty nice. It's all color coded, which I quite like. You can get these strips put in silver, but for me, I like the look of this car in Byron blue. Looks very classy. As we come around the back, to be honest, for a car which was made in 2012, it's not actually too bad. Again, we've got the facelifted lights on this, so this is a 2019 model, which have the LED lights. Same situation going on the back with my badges. Honestly, I don't really know what the hell these are, but they're starting to go black. Half of them are still silver, probably from taking it to the car wash and throwing all them chemicals on, but it is what it is. Vogue model, so on the back of the car, you will know if it's a top spec car because some will say Vogue SE, some will say Autobiography, but in this case, this is the entry model, but with Range Rovers, even the entry model is really nice, to be honest. But overall, that gives you an idea of what this car looks like on the exterior. Pretty nice looking car. It is a Range Rover. It is what it is. It is what you'd expect. Now let's check out the older Range Rover. Do you know what? I've got a soft spot for this car. I recently bought it. It looks so nice. It is aged so well. And what I like about this 2007 model is this grille. You don't tend to see this on all of the cars at this age. And it's actually the same one Jeremy Clarkson's got on his Range Rover and Harry's garage. And they're quite cool guys. I've got that, so I feel like a cool guy too. Coming down the side, you can see I have got 20-inch rims on this car, but also got the Pirelli Scorpion tyres, which is fantastic. But as time's gone on, they've grown on me, and I think it does look pretty nice looking on the side of the car. One of the things which this Vogue has that Vogue doesn't is side steps. Now, when I got the car, these were damaged, but I got them replaced. It does make the car look very nice, and it does help with smaller people getting into the car. Obviously, I don't have that problem. One of the things which I do want to get rid of are these hideous window tints. I'm not a fan of the whole, drug dealer looking thing on, especially on an older car. I think with the cream interior, which you're going to see shortly, getting these tints taken off, complemented with the black, will definitely look a lot better. We have got a little bit of water residue getting into this light over here from somewhere, so might need to investigate that at some point, but it is a 2007 car, 17 years old. It looks really nice, has aged very well. Has got the tow bar on this car as well, which I'm not planning on using, but these cars can tow 3.5 tons. So these cars are very good for towing. Badges on this car, surprisingly, are in much better condition, which is a bit bizarre that this is a 2007 car and the badges are in better nick than on my new Range Rover. Very strange. Equally, again, on the back of the car, we can see this is a Vogue model. So again, this is the entry-level spec model. With Range Rovers, I don't really think entry-level is the right word because they always come at very high spec to standard. But going down the rest of the car on this side, you can see it's in pretty good condition. Everything feels very solid. A nice rugged looking car. And considering this car cost me just over £1,000, I think this looks absolutely fantastic. Interior wise, it is a very nice place to be. Of course, being a 2019 car, it's gonna feel new, it's gonna feel pretty luxury, and it has got a lot of nice tech in this car. So on the steering wheel, we've got a heated steering wheel, we've got cruise control, and we've got lane assist, all of the things you would like to expect with a Range Rover. But one of the things which I do really like is this blue leather. This is not something which you see on many other luxury 4x4s, especially at this price point, so quite a nice feature to have. Looking around the center console, you've got a lot of storage. So we've got some 2 cup holders down here, and we've also got a secret storage compartment down here, so I'll just show you that now. What have we got down here? Some sellotape. I don't know why we've got some sellotape there, but anyway, lots of storage in this car. And tech wise, you can see everything is touchscreen on these cars apart from the controls for the heater. Now, I'm not the biggest fan when it comes to touchscreen things. I like having buttons to press because it does make life easier, but this is the way things are going with newer cars. It looks great, but in terms of the actual functionality, I'm not the biggest fan when it comes to these things. More storage on this car. You've got plenty of space down the side. You've got a little pocket over here. In the center console, what have we got? We've got my iPhone cable. And if we open this, I believe, oh, wrong one. We've got a little bit of a fridge down here as well, which is always good to have on a car like this. I think with Range Rovers, actually, they do come as standard. But I know with Range Rover Sports, that is an option, but I'll have to double check that. A little bit more storage as well. So we've got a glove box over here. Again, split one. So paracetamol, every car, always paracetamol. And up on the top, we have got, I don't even know what this is, but we've spare carrier bag for whatever you need. Pretty good storage space in this car overall. But just generally looking around, it is a very, very nice place to be. You've got all the electronical seat adjustments on the door, heated seats, sliding panoramic roof, which is an optional extra, but as standard, you'll get a fixed one. So generally speaking, I would say it is a very, very nice luxury place to be. Now, looking at the L322 interior, it's definitely very, very different to the new shape. However, I actually quite like how this car is made inside. You know, again, with the steering wheel, very similar technology. We've got a heated steering wheel, which does work, which is great for something of 17 years old. We've got cruise control on it, not lane assist, but in all honesty, it's not something which I'm that fussed about. Looking at the center console, you can see it is very, very different to the L405 model. As I said earlier, I don't like all the touch buttons in that car. With this, you can see it's all just, you know, big old knobs over here, big buttons to use, and you could just press them if you were wearing, you know, winter gloves. And that's what I like about this car. It's very, very functional and a lot more rugged. It's a bit of a farmer's car, but for me, I like the functionality of this. The screen on here is touchscreen. You can see, if I just go into a different mode over here, what have we got? What's over this? So language, what can we change it to? It's an old system. It isn't great. I haven't bought this car for having great entertainment and great tech, for example. So that's not a big concern, but generally it is a very, very nice place to be. The leather has kept up very, very well. You can see there is minimal wear to all of the things on the leather. Even these, I don't know what you call them, sort of armrests on these big old chairs. You feel like you're sat on a sofa at home. It is very, very comfortable. You've also got cup holders, plenty of storage as well. Ashtray, cigarette lighter, a lot of storage space underneath here. Door cards is actually the same as the Range Rover over there. So we've got a little cubby space here, as well as the door cards down here where got a few sweets over here. And over here, we've got a dual zone glove box. So what have we got? Some paracetamols. Always good to have these in a car, guys. And up here, we've got another one, which has got a CD changer, I'm gonna say. CD changer. I'm sure many of you don't have CDs. And what is this? Land Rover. Okay, it doesn't seem to work, but we've got a Land Rover torch, which is cool to have in the car. Do you know what? Just leave that on the floor. It's fine. Sound system on this car is actually surprisingly good. We've got a Harman Kardon system, which for 2007 has a good bass and good treble to it. Back in the day, Harman Kardon wasn't that great, but surprisingly in this car, it is actually very, very good. We've also got a sunroof in this car as well, which is always a good thing to have. It's not as nice as the panoramic roof you're going to get on the new shape, but still, it's better than nothing. One of the things you may notice is the head roof is starting to sag a little bit. So that is something which I would like to get sorted at some point. But overall for me, I love sitting in this car. You feel at home. I love the functionality, heated seats, heated steering wheel, good sound system, just a nice place to be. So sat in the back of the Range Rover, obviously I am a really abnormally tall person. So I've actually moved the seat a little bit forward and it isn't the most roomiest for me, but I can still squeeze into this car. I have got a little bit of recliners on the seat, but I don't know, I wouldn't really class that as a recliner, but it still has a little bit of movement. Every little helps. Tech-wise, we do have a bit of climate control at the back. It's not obviously on because the car's not running, but you've got heated seats on the rear and you've got dual zone climate control on the rears. Two little plug sockets down there as well. And of course, the Meridian sound system, which is around the rest of the car. So generally speaking, it is a nice place to be. Another cup holder down here. You can tell I've never sat in the back of my car. Can't even, there we go. This could potentially be a nice place to keep a few sweets for your kids if you got some. So nice bit of storage back here, pretty spacious, but obviously if you're as tall as me, 6'4" or 6'5", you're going to struggle with a little bit of legroom. But headroom, there is plenty of it up here, and you've got a nice view of this lovely panoramic roof. So again, overall, not a bad place to be. So as you can see, we have got a little bit of problem with head space. So where the roof is starting to sag, it is touching the top of my head. However, even still, if I was to put this up here, I wouldn't say that there is a lot of headroom in this car, surprisingly. Compared to the other Vogue, there is definitely a lot less headroom. Leg space, surprisingly, I actually feel like I've got more legroom in this car. I didn't even need to adjust the front seat, but I feel a bit more comfortable sat in this car than I did in the new shape, which is very, very odd and very surprising. But again, very, very similar. We've got heated seats at the front, climate controlled. It's not dual zone, but we still have the option to adjust the temperature in the back of the car. We've got a cigarette lighter, we've got an AUX cable if you did need to put anything into that. Storage wise, very, very similar. They do keep a lot of things the same because you can tell they are from the same family, being a Range Rover. Bit of an armrest down here, and one little trick which I actually wasn't aware of until recently. Do you want to see the cup holders? Look at that. Look at that. Not something you see every day. Cup holders in the back of a headrest. So not a bad place to be in this car. This needs fixing. I need a bit of space for my head, but nice place to be. The leather's kept up well. Generally for a 17-year-old car, it looks very, very nice. So £1,000 well spent. So now let's check out the tailgate on this car. It can be a bit temperamental. I have said this before with my car, but let's see. Okay, good news. It has worked, but a lot of the times this doesn't open all the way, which is one of the glitches with Land Rovers, but it's the first time I've ever experienced this with the Range Rover. But even still, nice split tailgate, but boot space. You just fold this away. I think that's as far as it goes. You can see I'm not a bit of an expert with this, but looking at the boot, it is a massive, massive boot. There is a lot of space in there, more so than the L322 model. But obviously it is a newer car. It has grown, it is a bit bigger. And underneath here, we have got a full-size spare, which is good to see. Another bonus with this car is the folding rear seat. So if you do need to get any luggage put into there, what we can do is we can just press this button over here and the rear seats should start to fold down. Nice feature to have. So boot space on these cars, you're never going to have a problem with. And then closing the tailgate, you do that manually, and this, you just press it and happy days. It should close, but being a Range Rover, you don't know. Will it close? I'm only joking. I love Range Rovers. Now let's compare the boot size on this Range Rover to the other one. So it is exactly the same. You have a split tailgate. You have to manually lift this up, whereas on the other one, it was all done in automatic. Again, split over here, but I love this. How solid is that? That's how you know that is a well-made car. I could literally, you know what, I'm gonna stand on it just to show you. That is solid. But the boot space in here is a little bit smaller, so I'll just pop this up again just to show you. Always good to carry jump leads when you've got an old Range Rover, because I have had battery issues where the battery dies if I don't drive it for more than 3 days. But you can see the size of the boot on this is a little bit smaller. However, it's weared very, very well. All the carpets around the side. I've got this. This did come with the car originally. It's a bit of just boot protection, I guess, if you want to throw things in. This is a work car for me. It gets bashed about, I throw things in. Yes, the boot size is smaller, but it's still absolutely massive. And like I say, the best thing about it is this. If you go out on a fancy, posh, I don't know, picnic, maybe with your friends and family, you can just sit over here, watch the horse racing, watch the polo, whilst eating a samosa chaat. But that gives you a nice view of this car. I like how rugged things are, but overall, it is a very, very nice car. And I have got a soft spot for this one, and I can't see this one going away. This is one probably going to stay in the family for a little while. Now, of course, being a Range Rover, you're going to have a lot of off-road settings, air suspension. So let me just show you all the tech on it. So if you go onto vehicle, off-road settings, you can either control them from here, or you've got this little switch down here. So if we flick that up, that allows us to go through all the different settings. So for example, on this car, you've got your comfort program, grass and gravel, snow, your mud ruts program, sand program, and rock crawl program. So if you did want to drive up a mountain, that is a setting you're going to want to do. And it's obviously got your low range gearbox. And as well as that, you've got your air suspension. So if you did want to lower your car or raise it, it is simple as just the buttons over here. So if we just press that, the car would begin to raise. However, we need to start the vehicle to raise, but that is a button which will lift the car. This car has also got a lot of off-road ability, and you can see on this amazing touchscreen, it is a bit old school, but you can see a lot of the 4x4 info. And down here, we've got a lot of settings, just like we've got on the new one. So if you want to just flick through, you can change it to gravel and snow, mud ruts, sand. So again, this car, even though it is a lot older, the DNA is very, very similar to the new model. Also, we've got air suspension. Currently, we've got the car in low mode. And again, if you wanted to raise it, you just start the car, press the button, and you can raise the car from super high, normal to low. Now, just before we go for a drive, let's check out the stats on these cars. The 2019 3-litre ST-V6 Range Rover has a 0 to 60 of 7.4 seconds, a top speed of 130 miles an hour, and 271 brake horsepower. Running cost wise, it averages 31.1 miles per gallon. The road tax is £190 per year, and as expected, it is the highest insurance group possible. Now, let's compare it to the 2007 3.6 TD V8, which has a slower 0 to 60 of 8.6 seconds, a slower top speed of 124 miles per hour. However, it does have a more powerful engine with 272 brake horsepower. Running costs aren't great either on this model. The average fuel consumption is claimed at 25 miles per gallon, but I'm yet to do my own fuel tests. Insurance group is lower at 46E. However, the road tax is a whopping £735 per year. If you're enjoying this video so far, give it a like and subscribe to help me tax this car and make more content with it. But now let's get on with the drive. When it comes to the way that a Range Rover drives, you cannot fault this 2019 L405 Range Rover. It's such a nice place to be sat in, oozing with luxury. The seating position is fantastic, very comfortable chair, and just being behind this wheel, it is a nice place to be. I always say this when it comes to these Range Rovers, you do feel like you're on a floating carpet. I know that is what people say when it comes to Rolls-Royce, but when we're talking at this price point, you cannot buy a more comfortable 4x4 at this price bracket. The engine is very effortless, is very, very smooth. Even fuel consumption is pretty good on these cars. I average around 31 miles per gallon with this car, and I've actually done a fuel test before on this car to see what it's like in the real world with the MPG and how many miles you get. So it is actually a very, very efficient car as well. But more importantly, it's just a nice place to be. You know, you feel that you want to drive this car. And when you are driving this car, you do get a good feeling that you are driving something a little bit special. But of course, it all comes down to a price point. This car, when it was new, was circa £80,000. So even now, being 5 years old, you can pick these up for sub 30 grand. In terms of luxury, very good. The way this car drives, very good. And just overall from ownership with this car and just general practicality, I would say it is a nice car to own for sure. And the air suspension on this car is so nice. We're coming up to a really bad speed bump and you can barely feel it. You know, the camera might wobble a little bit and it just feels so effortless to drive. But that's just a quick overview of driving this Range Rover. But let's head back now and jump into the L322 and see how that compares to this newer shape Range Rover. Now, I've only had this car for a short time, for about 2 months now, but what I can say is value for money, this car drives absolutely amazing. It's definitely not as refined as the newer Range Rover. You can feel the creaks a little bit more on this car, but it's an older car. This is 17 years old versus the other Range Rover which I have, which is only 5 years old. This has done 124,000 miles. That car has done 67,000 miles. So they're two different cars, and I would never expect this to drive exactly how the new one does. However, don't get it twisted. This is one serious car for the money. It is so comfortable. The air suspension on this is still fantastic. The seating position is near enough exactly like it is on the L405. You've got the armrest, you've got the heated seats, heated steering wheel. Yes, we can agree that it isn't as luxury as a new car, of course. However, it is still a very nice place to be, and you don't feel like you're driving an old cheap car. You still feel like this is something special, which is why I find myself jumping into this car, and I really enjoy driving it wherever I go. The other thing which I like about this car is all the tech. So even though it's old-fashioned, I like that we've got the knobs. I like that it's big buttons and it's easy to use. Whereas on the newer car, I always find it a bit more difficult when I need to press something, if I need to demist the front screen. It's all touch sensitive and I just don't like that. But overall, the way this car drives, the way it pulls, the engine being a nice V8, it's got a lot of torque and it drives very, very good. Yes, this is an older car and you probably are going to have more potential issues being an older car, wear and tear. Things will start to go wrong, of course they will. But when we're talking value for money, this is a serious car and a serious contender at this price point. What I will say though is when you are looking at these older ones, you do need to have a good shop around, because as much as there are going to be a lot of good cars, there will equally be a lot of bad ones. So with that in mind, if you are looking at a cheap Range Rover like what I bought, of course I got it from the auction, so if you do find something nice come through, it's worth a gamble. But if you are looking privately on Auto Trader or eBay or wherever it may be, around £3,000 you can probably still pick up a similar car to this, and in my opinion that represents a serious amount of value for money, because this is just a nice place to be. It drives fantastic, the suspension feels great. This is seriously one good car. So what is my verdict then, after having a good look around, taking both these cars for a test drive and seeing, is this car really worth buying over a newer Range Rover? I wouldn't say it's a direct replacement. If you want to buy an older one, you want to buy an older one. If you want to buy a new Range Rover, you're going to buy a new Range Rover. But for me, this Range Rover here, like I say, I've got a soft spot for this car. At the price point which I paid for this car, £1,250 plus some fees, You can pick these up on the used market for about £3,000–4,000 in comparison to this car, which I paid £30,000 for. I don't think that car is worth the extra money. This car represents so much good value for money. And if I could go back in time and just only have one car and keep the money, I think honestly, I would end up with this 2007 Range Rover 3.6 TD V8. This is the one for me. But guys, I hope you've enjoyed today's video. Just a bit of fun, a bit of comparison, looking at the old one versus the new one. There is no right or wrong. This is just my opinion on what I think and just showing you what they're like back to back. But if you have enjoyed today's video, don't forget to hit that subscribe button. Like this video if you've enjoyed it. But other than that, I'm going to see you on the next one. Take care, guys.